Yo, this is Nappy Boy Radio Live with your boy T-Pain. We love rap music. Listen, we got a caller on line one. Caller, what's your problem?
Hello, I'm on the radio with T-Pain.
How's it going?
It ain't going good. My girl ain't doing the things she used to do at all.
I got just what you need. Brand new Chris Brown, T-Pain. You heard it here first. Nappy Boy Radio, we love you. What up, everybody? It's your boy once again in the house. This is the true definition of a sports fanatic podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I guess I'm supposed to talk sports today. I think that's the content of this podcast. I'm not really sure, but we're going to get into some sports anyway. First things first, got some breaking news out of NFL, where the Denver Broncos have sent Case Keenum to the Washington Redskins for a 6th-round pick. Washington will also receive a 7th-rounder along with Keenum. Now, that's the second quarterback domino to fall so far. You know, first it was Joe Flacco being traded to the Broncos. So it was only a matter of time before the Broncos, moved on from Case Keenum. So I'm pretty sure he didn't want to stay there and be a backup. But now, I kind of thought the Washington Redskins would be in play to draft a quarterback, even though the head coach, Jay Gruden, has spoken about his confidence in Colt McCoy. But come on, man. We've seen the Colt McCoy show. And frankly, we've seen the Case Keenum show. I mean, he's had one good season. That was in Minnesota. And he was surrounded by an incredibly talented roster. I mean, it didn't get any better than that Minnesota Vikings roster. You had an excellent defense. You had a host of running backs, a great tight end, Kyle Rudolph, ridiculous wide receiving core with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. So he did what he was supposed to do. He was a little more than a game manager there, but, it was 1 year. So I thought Washington would be in play for a quarterback in the draft. Maybe they get their hands on Drew Lock, or maybe Daniel Jones, or, maybe even Will Grier, who knows. But Case Keenum he's a spot starter. He's not their QB of the future. Because honestly, I think that Alex Smith might be done. The guy's going to be 35 next year, and his injury was absolutely gruesome. And 35-year-old quarterbacks just don't come back from things like that. 35-year-old athletes, period, don't come back from injuries like that. So, I'm hoping he comes back. I hope he can be a quality starter in this league again, but it just did not look good for Alex Smith. But even with the acquisition of Case Keenum, I'm still looking before my signal caller, because Alex Smith had this team sitting at 6-4 after 10 games. Had he started the rest of the whole season, they would have went to the playoffs, probably won the NFC East, and probably could have won a playoff game or two. This is a good roster with a nasty defense. So think about it. They went 1-5 down the stretch with Colt McCoy and Josh Johnson under center. Now, of course, that one game that they did win was against my Jaguars, and I was sitting at home in disbelief. And I could not believe we just lost to Josh Johnson, a guy who had not thrown a pass in the NFL in like 7 years. I don't want to get into that because I want to be upbeat for y'all doing this podcast. I could really get into a depressed mood talking about last year. But back to my original point, if I'm the Redskins, I'm still looking for my guy. Who, now that you have somebody in place, you don't have to go high. You can look in the later rounds. A guy who I would love to have here in Jacksonville is Tyree Jackson, the quarterback from Buffalo, who's a massive, massive human being with a cannon for an arm. And now you can draft and develop him, sitting behind Case Keenum, and then Alex Smith come back, let him sit behind Alex and learn, and you can have your quarterback of the future. Now let's switch it up a little bit. We're going to talk about Oklahoma Sooners Heisman winning quarterback Kyler Murray, one of the top quarterback prospects in the 2019 NFL draft. Now Kyler has been, he's been all the buzz because of the combine, where he pretty much exceeded all the expectations they had of him. The NFL scouts and GMs. He ended up being taller than people thought. He weighed more than people thought. His hands were bigger than people thought. So he pretty much checked all the boxes, because majority of his touchdown passes came from the pocket. People say he wasn't a pocket passer. He's been compared to Michael Vick as a runner. Guy's athletic. He reminds me of Russell Wilson, just a little bit better of an athlete and a better open field runner. But even Russell wasn't a great pocket passer at this point, as Kyler is coming out in the NFL draft. But the bigger story is former Texans GM and current NFL Network analyst Charley Casserly reporting on Kyler Murray and about how his interviews with teams went. And Charley said, and I quote, he said, "The worst report I've ever heard on a top-ranked quarterback from the interview part of it. These were the worst comments I've ever got on the top-rated quarterback, and I've been doing this a long time." He also said, "Leadership, not good. Study habits, not good. The board work, below, not good. Not good at all in any of those areas, raising major concerns about what this guy is going to do." And he also added, "Murray better hope the Arizona Cardinals coach Cliff Kingsbury drafts him at number 1, because if not, he's going to fall down the board." Now, to be honest with you, even if this is what he heard, I don't like it, because it's basically character assassination. And I know some people, they don't like to bring it up. They don't like to go there. People always say, "Oh, you guys like to play the race card." But when it's relevant, I will bring it up. Casserly wouldn't have said this about Kyler Murray if he was a white quarterback. I'm going to keep it honest with you. I don't care what you say. I know he wouldn't have said this if Kyler Murray was white. Now, what Charley Casserly, one of his biggest mistakes is that he took the bait. And when I say he took the bait, is he heard from 2 NFL teams this information that he just spewed out all over TV like it's gospel. And I want to know what 2 teams it was, because if these 2 teams are not in the top 10, they have an agenda. Their agenda is to assassinate Kyler Murray's character, per se, so teams will be afraid to draft him. He'll fall down the board, and they can trade up and get him. You got to know. He fell for the banana in the tailpipe. Come on, man. You got to be smarter than that. You were a GM. You know how these things go. This guy, he's answered all questions. Everything they threw at him, talking about he too short, he too small, he's too this, he's too that. He's answered all those questions so far. And now you have nothing to nitpick at. This is what you come up with. No, this is the only thing they had. This is it. Now, of course, after Charley Casserly made his comments, Kyler Murray's agent and his head coach from Oklahoma came to his defense. Now, Lincoln Riley, his head coach especially, I like what he said. He said, and I quote, "I just hate that people go out and make these comments and they haven't talked to the 2 people who've actually coached this kid. You haven't talked to teammates. You went off what one team said. That's probably a smokescreen. Knowing how the draft, with all its rumors and subterfuge, works, Kyler was a tremendous leader for us, very aggressive. All he cares about is winning. I think our team took on that personality without a doubt." Boom. There it is. Even Lincoln Riley knows. That is a smokescreen. Charley Casserly made it personal. That's his problem. He made it personal. So instead of him doing his research, talking to more teams, he took that as gospel and basically went to church. Almost collected some offering and laid hands and baptized a few kids. Dude took it to church. Even with all that said, let's say the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And, Kyler was good with some and he wasn't good with others. The only one that really matters if he's trying to go number one is the Arizona Cardinals. If he aced that interview, none of the other interviews matter. But it only takes one team to fall in love with you and to pull the trigger and draft you. So you don't have to impress 32 teams. You just have to impress one. Now, Charley Casserly isn't the best person for that information, I will say, because he's been wrong before. I know back in 2010, he had reported that Tom Brady played majority of the season with broken ribs. And Bill Belichick, he let the hammer fly. He said, like he usually is, Casserly was 100% wrong. He added, who's been more wrong than Charley Casserly since he left the Redskins? His percentage is like a meteorologist, end quote. Whoa, hey, Bill Belichick said it, not me. So basically, you get a little taste of sensationalism with this story, because now the sports world has basically become a place for hot takes. The truth is buried, the facts are minimal, and it's all about what's going to get the most views, the most clicks, the most attention. And it's sad. Here at the True Definition of a Sports Fanatic podcast, my goal is to bring you the facts, give you the story, and then give you my opinion on said facts or story. I'm not here to throw out hot takes and spew them as gospel like some of the bigger guys, like a Colin Cowherd, who was absolutely awful talking about Russell Westbrook and the incident when the kid hit him. He was terrible. Skip Bayless, who's awful on a regular basis, or somebody like Charley Casserly, who soon as his pen couldn't write fast enough or his phone couldn't record fast enough during that conversation for him to get back, get his microphone, and talk about what he just heard. Instead of him doing some more research and figuring out that it's a smoke screen. The teams used you. That was strategic. That's like earlier this week, I saw a story published by NBC Sports talking about my guy, Jacksonville Jaguars all-pro cornerback, Jalen Ramsey. Now, anybody who knows me knows I absolutely love Jalen Ramsey, love his game, love everything that he's about. But NBC Sports, they reported that Jalen Ramsey can be had for a major haul, which basically the Jaguars are going to trade away from, but it's going to be a high price you will have to pay. That's not news. That's not a hot take, because if that's the case, every player in the NFL can be had at the right price. It's only a few that are maybe untouchable, but any player can be had at the right price. There were trade rumors surrounding Jalen Ramsey earlier during the season, and he came out like the baller he is against the Pittsburgh Steelers and absolutely shut down Antonio Brown. He had more catches against Antonio Brown than Antonio Brown had against him. And he shut those trade rumors down. But because of, some of the perceived issues and things he said or whatever, they feel like, he's available. But if he's available, then every player in the NFL is available and can be had at the right price. But y'all can keep dreaming. Jalen Ramsey is going nowhere. They need to go ahead and sign him now. Don't even need to wait. Speaking of my Jaguars, let's talk about Nick Foles. Now, earlier this week, a story dropped about Nick Foles basically being a lock to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a lot of fans here interpreted that as it's already a done deal. People telling me, oh, we got Foles. Oh, we signed Foles. And I had to kindly explain to them that the start of the league year, which is March 13th, is the only time a player can sign a new contract with a team. And we don't currently have him. Now, them saying that he's a lock doesn't mean anything to me. And I don't believe that. Because if I'm Foles' camp, I don't want people telling everybody that he's a lock to sign with the Jaguars. Because if that's the case, you lose all your leverage in negotiations, and the Jaguars can pretty much set their own price. Because if no other teams are interested, I'm going to pay you what I want to pay you. So if I'm Nick Foles' camp, I'm putting out there that multiple teams are interested, and he has a fairly decent market. But this early on, Nick Foles to Jaguars, it's pretty much a done deal. I'm not buying it. Now, the longer this has gone on, at first, I wasn't against Nick Foles coming here. If that's what they wanted to do, cool, do that. I mean, you need to win now, because if you don't win now, if we go 7-9 next year or 8-8, at least, in the very least, Caldwell and Marrone are fired, our head coach and GM. Tom Coughlin might survive that, but if I'm Shad Khan, I'm probably cleaning house. But that's just me. But acquiring Nick Foles has become less appealing by the day, because we're already strapped for cash and with our salary cap. And he's supposed to command a $20 million plus a year contract. And we just don't have the money for it. Now, they're going to make some moves. We're going to restructure some guys. I know they just restructured Marcel Darius's deal. They'll cut Malik Jackson. Now they're supposedly shopping to Sean Gibson, which I think that'll be a mistake, even though the safety market is a good market. I mean, man, it's so many good safeties out there, from Earl Thomas to Eric Weddle to Landon Collins. The Broncos just cut Darian Stewart today. So you got some safeties out there, and you have options. But I'd rather go draft a quarterback and you get him for what, 20 plus million is probably the guaranteed contract, his whole contract, plus the 5th year option. And you'll have your quarterback under contract, and he's making about $45 million a year, and you're able to build around him. Where Nick Foles, you bring him in, you're not going to be able to bring in a whole lot of talent, especially big price talent after that. You're going to have to draft guys. So the best option for the Jaguars, to me, is either trade up and get Haskins or trade up and get Murray if Murray doesn't go number 1 to Arizona. So let's say we trade up and we get Dwayne Haskins. All right, you got Dwayne Haskins. Go get a tight end. Go get another running back. Draft a lineman or two. And if you really want to swing for the fences, trade for Antonio Brown. Because I'll take Haskins and a few pieces here and there, and offensive pieces in the draft, and Antonio Brown over Nick Foles and probably a couple of rookies or low-price free agents coming in. I mean, we'll be completely set up for the future, whereas in Nick Foles, if he flops, that sets you back. Because that's $20 plus million. That sets you back if he comes here and he flops. Blake has already set you back by giving him that horrendous contract at the start of the league year last year. So the best option to me is to either sign Teddy Bridgewater or Tyrod Taylor and then draft Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins. Please, Jaguars, please do this for me. Now, the Jaguars have the 7th pick in the 2019 NFL draft. And there's one guy I want them to stay away from. And I think he'll only be in play if they sign Nick Foles. Ole Miss receiver DK Metcalf. Now, the NFL Combine just passed this past weekend, and you had prospects, NFL draft prospects who underwhelmed, some who solidified their current status, and you had those that overachieved. DK Metcalf was one of those that overachieved. He came in, he's 6'3", 228, ran a 4.33 in the 40-yard dash. I think he jumped like 40.2 inches in the vertical, jumped a 11-1 or 10-9 broad jump, something like that. But when it came down to the cone drills, when you have to change directions, of course, he was awful in those, and he can't change direction very well. but big, fast, and strong. I think he had more reps on the bench press than Khalil Mack did when Khalil Mack was coming out, a defensive lineman. So, and then you had those guys who underwhelmed. I think Elijah Holyfield, Evander Holyfield's son, he didn't do well. But a guy like that, all you got to do is go back to the tape. Elijah Holyfield can play. You had guys who solidified their current status. And Dwayne Haskins, we knew what Dwayne Haskins was before this. And all he did was go out and show you, said, yeah, this is why I'm one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Some guys who surprised, Montez Sweat, defensive end from Mississippi State, Brian Burns from Florida State. The tight end from Iowa, Noah Fant. Dude ran a 4.51. That's absolutely blazing for a tight end. But back to DK Metcalf. After I saw his combine, I was like, man, this guy has Jaguars written all over him. You might as well go ahead and put the Jaguars logo on his chest, give him a hat, and let him hug the commissioner, because this seems like a move that they would make. He seems like David Boston 2.0 to me. Dude has like 1.9% body fat, which after talking to some pretty reliable sources, that's not good. Like once you get down to that percentage of body fat, your body starts to like eat away your organs, as I was told. But all that aside, DK pretty much put out a combine similar to Julio Jones or Vernon Davis. And it's going to make him some money. He's going to go way higher than he probably should. And he's a big, fast, strong guy. But his catch rate while he was at Ole Miss was like 59%. Dudes drop passes. So you're gonna draft this big receiver who's ridiculously fast, who can only run pretty much vertical routes because he cannot change direction. It truly amazes me how talent evaluators in the NFL get caught up in the measurables of a player. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, and they just lose their mind. Go back to the tape. Can he play? It's simple. Can he play? And the tape tells me that DK Metcalf is a one-trick pony. All he's going to be able to do in the NFL is run vertical routes. He's not going to be able to do anything else. And if that's the case, I'm not taking him with the top pick. But someone's going to do it, and he's going to get paid. I'm not mad at him. Get your money, black man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's the saddest part of the show. It is time for me to go. Oh, I cannot forget. I want to congratulate Mr. LeBron James for passing Michael Jordan for fourth all-time on the NBA scoring list. An amazing feat. You know, he's had such a long and illustrious career. You know, it's a shame that they lost. So, you know, it wasn't as exciting, you know, as it would have been had they won the game, or, you know, the team would be doing well right now. But nonetheless, it is an incredible milestone. And I truly think he's probably going to end up second all time, you know, depending on how long he continues to play. He might challenge for number one, but I think he'll definitely get to number two. But with all that being said, once again, hit me up, message me, let me know what you want to hear. You know, I told you I'm here for you. I want to make this product great. I'm doing this as much as I can so I get comfortable with it. You know, I can hear my improvements from episode 1, you know, to my last episode, episode 4. Got better at editing, got better at, you know, putting my music in. You know, got a little comedy in there, doing little skits and things like that. I mean, as time goes on, I will only get more comfortable, and content will be a lot better. And this all for you, the listener. But until next time, I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe and share it with your friends. Until next time, peace.